Darts Premier League night 13 is here. My name's Corbin from the Parlay Club, and I've got the best bets and the plays the books do not want you knowing about. Let's get right into it. We're in Aberdeen this week, so it doesn't really favour anyone or hinder anyone. I imagine the crowd will still be against Lettler like they have been the last few weeks, but it shouldn't really have an impact in here. Before I get into it, as always, drop a comment, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Let me know who you think's going to win this week. Also, drop me a comment with what other sports and videos, previews, that kind of stuff you want to see. Want to start uploading more content on this channel, getting more free plays and that kind of stuff out. So, yeah, let me know what you want to see. Last week we had 0 client plays actually, which turned out to be a good decision. So still a 19 and 13 run on Darts Premier League. I think we have to be really careful at this point of the season. It's been wonky really for the last month or so. We're heading into the last few weeks, so certain players, i.e. the Rocks and the Buntings, aren't really playing for anything other than pride. Everyone else is still trying to either qualify or improve their spot in the leaderboard, so have to kind of keep an eye out for that. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend going too heavy on a few plays, but one play that I think you are good to go in on is Luke Littler, which is the first match up here. Littler is minus 370. He's got a 7-0 head-to-head record versus Rock. And I talked about motivation. Littler needs to get the wins to try and get to that top spot. We do have a future on him to come top. I still expect that he will. I think we have, is it 3 or 4 more weeks? Clayton's just above him, but I think Littler will still catch him and pass him and finish top. Um, Rock is virtually out. He's dead bottom of the table. He's had a few bright spots, but I'm talking he has to win every week from now to the end of the year, and he still might not even make it in. So, yeah, Rock's really playing for pride. Littler needs the wins, nightly wins, let alone just the first round wins to propel himself up to the top spot. He did that last week. He won last week. Seems to have rebounded really nicely from that patch where he had that rough game against Van Veen, crowd against him, and a few rocky performances. I remember him losing, I think it was to Bunting with some crazy like 84 average. He seems to be a lot more clinical on doubles, which is what was really stopping him, and his averages have been consistently high most of the year, other than those odd 1 or 2 performances. Rock can score almost like Littler, not quite to the same level or consistency, but the checkouts are still not there for Rock. I think Littler wins this quite easily. I do lean, I saw this earlier, I forget which section it is in. I'm looking for the Rock average. There it is. So I'm kind of looking at this Rock over 95.5 average. Mentioned last week that I liked Humphreys to go over his average against Littler, and he did despite losing the match. 95.5 is kind of right where I would expect Rock to be. It's probably not worth a play unless you can get, if you can get 94.5, which I think I've seen on 1 or 2 books, I would take the 94.5. 95.5 is just kind of, it's going to be close. I think he could average just over 95, which isn't enough to go over this total. For me, it's quite honestly, it's just letting the money line all day long. Minus, I have got this in a play for clients. It's in an official play with something that's already won. So yeah, I would take the minus 370. Bunting versus Price. Again, Price has everything to play for here. He's fighting to stay in the playoffs. I want to say that he's in third. So he has Van Goen below him, Van Veen, and Humphreys all trying to catch up to him. Meanwhile, Bunting is all but out as well. He's second bottom. Uh, he needs night wins again to make a difference. And other than he might fluke another one like he did, but he's not going to qualify, I don't think. That's another 2 of our futures. We had Rock to miss the playoffs parlayed, and we have Bunting to miss the playoffs parlayed. So yeah, if Price could get a win here, that all but puts the nail in the coffin in that one. Price has won the last 3 head-to-heads, and he's just playing so much better. He's finishing better, he's scoring better, everything kind of is going in Price's way. He's having a really great year. Bunting played two Players' Championships over the weekend. Again, wasn't convincing in either. Why complicate it? It is just Price money line. Interestingly, I have, so I mentioned I had Littler in a client play. I have Littler money line and Price plus 2.5, but this equally works. I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see it. If you want to put the Price and Littler money line together and get minus 130, I think that's a great play as well. As I said, I think both win, both are playing for something. The other two, Rock and Bunting, really not at the races this year. So yeah, that's a solid play at minus 130. Just want to quickly mention, I've mentioned client plays. If you want to join on the Dub Club and get all the official plays from every sport, soccer, darts, tennis, golf, MMA, everything is all under one package. Just go to the link me in my bio. Top page takes you to the Dub Club where you have all the different options. Would always recommend the monthly or yearly subscription, just so that means you get every play. As I mentioned, anyone can win or lose in a week, but you give me a month, and I feel like the worst I would do for a month is break even. Whereas every month so far, we've made huge profits. We're up 130 units this year, and we're still in April. So yeah, highly recommend jumping on that. If you're wondering what kind of plays we do or what sports, you can always come over. It's going to take a minute to load, like always, but if you come over, go to the link me and go to the spreadsheet that's linked, it will bring you to this, and you can see every play that we've got, every sport that we cover, the kind of plays, juice tolerance, all of that stuff. If you come up right to the top and go over to the right hand side, it says 124. That's not fully updated yet. It's 127 at the minute. But even still, you can see all the stats for the whole year and anything you want to see. Right, let's get into the next match, which is Clayton versus Jan van Veen. I'm a little shocked by this line. You can get them basically at a pick'em, so it says minus 120, but you can get them at minus 105 or 110 each. I mean, everyone knows my feelings on Jan van Veen at the moment. But Clayton has come through two really tough games last week, both 6-5 against Bunting and Van Veen. The Van Veen matchup, he actually had a 66% checkout percentage, which is just crazy. That's unsustainable. And obviously, as I said, he beat Van Veen 6-5 in the last leg shootout. Interestingly enough, they've played 3 times recently in the Premier League. Clayton's won all of those, and Jan van Veen had the throw in all 3 of them. So he's broke him and won 3 times, which I find quite impressive. Van Veen played at the Players' Championship at the weekend, was just nowhere. He was awful. I'm really surprised that Clayton is a pick'em. He's still going. He's obviously battling Littler to finish top of the table, and Van Veen really needs the wins. He's slipped out of the playoff places, and to have any hope of progressing, he re- I think it has to start this week or next. That he has to win at least one, if not 2 games, because it's not just Clayton he needs to gain points on, it's everyone else. So even if he wins the first round and say Van Gogh wins, he's not making up any ground, which he needs to do. So yeah, I kind of lean to the Clayton, especially at that kind of price, or the over 8.5 at minus 310 sounds good. Over 9.5 sounds good. All these over sound good to me. I wonder what the averages are. Yeah, I don't trust either of them at 96.5. It's interesting that they've basically got the price at a pick'em, but they're leaning that the averages are going to have Van Veen averaging lower than Clayton. But Clayton, we know, is historically better at checkouts. Everything is just telling me that it should be Clayton by a wider margin. But when players backs against the wall like Van Veen, it could make them come out better. But yeah, I have to lean Johnny Clayton for everything that I've seen through the last 12 weeks at this point. Humphreys Van Goen, again, another line that I find incredibly confusing. Van Goen beat Rock and then lost 6-5 to Littler last week. I'm just surprised that he's an underdog here to Humphreys. Humphreys lost 6-2 to Littler last week, then had a bad Players' Championship at the weekend. It's the same old story with Littler with Humphreys. Every game at the minute, his scoring is there, but his finishing is just not even remotely close to troubling these players or getting the points that he needs. 2-2 in their last four head-to-heads. Both badly needs the wins to qualify. I think Van Gowen's in fourth place as it stands, so he's competing against Humphreys and Van Veen probably for that fourth spot. I think the top three of Littler, Clayton, and Price are pretty sure. I would say it's really that fourth spot between the three that I just mentioned. So if he can get a win here against Humphreys, that really kind of propels him and puts, I would say, it puts the dagger in Humphreys' Premier League chances. I feel like Humphreys has to win here to have a chance, if not win multiple games and a night. So yeah, I really like Van Gogh at plus 120. I don't know what the spreads are. If you can get even this plus 2.5 on Van Gogh at minus 310, I like that as well. Again, I don't see, unless Humphreys really comes out and is more clinical in the doubles and the finishing, I just don't see how he gets a big win here. Everything kind of tells me Van Gogh's going to win. I side with Van Gogh at the plus 120 and the minus 310 for the plus 2.5. I normally mention the darts, the checkouts, but the bullseye checkouts, but I didn't play it last week, and I'm probably gonna not play it. So my record is 5-1-5. So make a small profit because when you win, it's plus money. I think they won last week, but I didn't play it, so I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember. Again, if you're playing it every week, just keep doing it. I've now missed a week, so I'm gonna just lay off. Plus, the Premier League's been, as I said, been a bit wonky. So yeah, carry on whatever you're doing. Just continue to do it, but I will not be playing them. And that's it. We'll be back with week 14 next week. Have a real good idea of the playoff picture by then. As I said, link in bio for plays at DubClub. 130 units roughly this year already through 4 months. Highly recommend jumping on. Spreadsheet, other socials, all of that stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, let me know what other content you want to see. And any questions, drop me a DM or a message. Good luck, everyone.